We're going to first get started by bringing up our brother. I'm going to say it again. I'm going to make sure everybody has it very clear. We're starting off by bringing up our brother. Now, most definitely clap. We're in the house of our brother. So, without further delay, give a hand to our brother, Pastor, Brother Father Flair. Give a hand, y'all.
Tonight. We're happy to welcome you here and happy to host this event because we believe in what this event and this town hall meeting is about. We're here because whenever there is a hidden hand that seeks to assassinate a character and use lies to put forth personal agendas that's fueled by bigotry and fueled by racism, our job is to stand up. Our job is to expose it, and our job is to stop it. And that's why we're here tonight. We're here to let truth be told, because truth always will expose the lies, and truth will always rise up and will always win. So we're glad that you're here, and we've got this opportunity to hear the truth and to fight for it and demand that righteousness be done. So thank you very much.
Next, we're going to bring up our sister. Some of you all who are on social media, and some of you all who attend a lot of the different meetings and events all over the Chicagoland area. You see this sister everywhere, her beautiful colors, her beautiful garments, her beautiful smile. And I want you all to listen in to this welcome that she's going to do as we begin this process and this journey of truth and justice. So please give a hand to our sister, Africa Porter.
Peace, family. Peace, family. Peace. I was like, who's my brother talking about? It's me. I appreciate you. Thank you. This is a very serious occasion. Greetings, family. We gather here today, May 18, 2023, at 6 p.m. in support of our beloved brother, the amazing educator, Abdul Muhammad.
Muhammad!
Why
And in doing so, we decided to create a cooperative. And we started teaching other people's children, and we created a homeschool association, and we started doing more work together. So I ain't just beat them because of what's happening right now. We go back. And I think that's important as we're talking about context. When you come for one, you come for all. Oh, he's one of ours.
That's right.
See, he's doing phenomenal work. And what I understand about those that do phenomenal work is we always under the microscope. We always under fire because we doing phenomenal things. Am I right, Brother Mark? When you're doing the work, right? The red light camera action at work, they come for us, right, Brother Smith? They always gonna come for us when we doing the work. So we have to be ready. We have to rally the troops up. We have to do exactly what we're doing now and come together for the able because, Brother Jerry, this is what we do. It's family. This is exactly what truth looks like. This is exactly what support looks like. This is what family looks like. That's right. When I say support, you say Muhammad. Support! Muhammad! Support! Muhammad! Support, support, support!
Muhammad!
Let's go!
Give another hand to our sister African you all. Make some noise. Because I wanted to make sure you all understand that Principal Muhammad, from the west side to the south side, southeast side of Chicago, for several decades, worked in Chicago public schools, and he produced young people like the one I'm about to bring up that will let you know in a heartbeat the effect and the impact that he has had. So, with no further delay, please give a hand to our sister Amber so she can come up and give her testimony. Give her a hand, you all.
How you guys doing? I stand here not only as a community organizer, but also as a youth advocate and an alumni of both Saint Sabina and CPS. Where Mr. Muhammad was, where I was a student of Mr. Muhammad's. In a society where there are already a lack of resources and people who really care about our youth, I just don't understand how the decision to remove Mr. Muhammad was ever a consideration. A man who commits to educating and empowering, supporting and uplifting, and doing it with grace and love. There is not one student that he has taught, mentored, or led that will tell you they didn't feel the love he had for teaching, for community, and for the students. Everyone's quick to judge the youth and the violence when it comes to them. Yet you keep removing the resources and the people who really care and impact and change their lives. When is enough enough? We're over it and we're tired and justice, and we're going to get Mr. Muhammad.
That's just one of the products, those who have impacted, been impacted, and she's standing up. And all those students presently at Lindblom High School that really want to stand, they need the support of parents, they need the support of all the adults who say that they really want to stand for truth and justice. And I just want to say that because there's a parent here today, and he has a testimony because at first he didn't really know which way to go. And I want to be honest with you all. When I hear people on the radio make comments about him being Principal Muhammad, he's a hip-hop principal. Hip-hop. As if something is wrong with that. We don't define hip-hop by what the corporations say it is. We say hip-hop is truth without boundaries, and he stands for truth. And he puts it into action. And so this particular parent, he said, look, I'm seeing what the truth is, and I can't just sit by and let this thing go on and let them persecute a good man. So please give a hand to our brother who's going to give you his testimony, Brother Omari. Give him a hand, brother.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm just looking around everybody, and I'm seeing some folks I know,
some I don't. And you know, I was thinking about what I want to say when I got up here, and it's perfect that we're at a church. Because, you know, there are moments in all of our lives where we find ourselves being tapped on the shoulder to speak up in places where we don't want to, or we're not inclined to. I'm the father of a first-year transfer student at Lindblom High School. Now, I didn't know Principal Muhammad. I'd seen him running some of the circles. He's a Muslim, I'm Muslim. You know, we'd seen each other, but I didn't know him. I can't promise that we would have greeted each other on the street if we'd seen each other. But I knew of him, and I admired him from a distance. When I found out that that was the Abdul Muhammad that was going to be Principal Lindblom, I got excited. This is my son's first year. Who else would I want to have him be around other than this man? Now, there's a lot that you've heard about what's happened over the course of these last 8 months, but I mean, I don't need to say this to all of you. You don't just get to be principal of any high school in the city of Chicago without having an exemplary record. And in the span of 8 months, he's been made out to be something other than the exemplary track record that he's demonstrated and worked hard for in the schools and the community. And I knew all of this going in, so it perplexed me. 1 week, 2 weeks in, hearing all of the scuttlebutt about he let this woman go. He shouldn't have. He's not what Lindblom wants. And so I became curious, even though I knew of and admired from a distance, brother. I don't know like that. Let me find out what's going on. And the long and end of it, everybody, is that when I showed up to the local school council calls, when I started to ask questions, when I started to become engaged in the process of what was really happening, really, I got to be honest with you, over the first few months, I couldn't believe my ears and what I was hearing. And it wasn't that I was hearing anything of substance. If it was just something that had some substance, even if it was a lie, I would have been inclined to look into it further, but it wasn't even that. In the first local school council call, everybody, no kidding, there was a teacher who was saying, you know what, we don't have any confidence in this administration, we've got no confidence vote. And I sat there and watched my clock. It was about a 10-minute prelude to what this man had to say. And I'm sitting there like, man, this brother must have stolen something or abused somebody. I'm just waiting for the prelude. And look, I'm not kidding. These calls are recorded, you can go back and listen to them. He said, in some emails were returned, they weren't invited to a meeting, and there was some procedural issue regarding a diverse learning situation where the right people weren't notified. And he sits there and looks at the screen for effect, like we were all going to get excited. And he says, the teacher says at the end of this call, I know this sounds bad, but this is serious stuff. And I sat there and I rubbed my hands and I waited until the parents' time to speak. And I said, you know what, teachers? You have to step your game up a little bit. You have to get your ducks in order, because you're accusing this man of something that could very well cost him his career. And that's serious business. So look, if you have a case, get it together. If you're organized enough to cause all this resistance, then you're organized enough to present a variable case. And I really meant that. And apparently one of the teachers heard no comment. And she sends me a text message and she says, look, you must know the inside track of what's really going on with this principal. And I said, okay. We're going to get to the good stuff now. So this woman takes me to coffee, and I sit down with her for 3 months, or 3 hours or so. And I attempt to listen to her and hear everything that she had to say. And long and there was an issue where she wanted to put somebody on the executive track to hire someone. She expected Principal Muhammad to rubber stamp it. And the brother said, no, there's a process for doing these things. We have to open up the job offer, we have to promote the people. If the person that you want in this job is the most qualified person, then they'll be hired. And she said, I've been here for as long as I've been, how can you do something like that? And it just became very clear to me in the course of this conversation that he wasn't being railed against because he did anything wrong. He was actually being railed against because he did something right.
That's right.
And I could not believe my ears. And this one girl shared with me how she was the ringleader of this whole teacher opposition that was before. And I couldn't believe my ears. I said, who would say something like this out loud and actually be proud of it? And it wasn't until all of the events came before that I began to see and begin to put the pieces together for how the teachers, the administrators, and certain members of the alumni community were all coordinated against this man. And so again, I'm having to grapple with for myself that I'm just a parent. What do I do? Now imagine that many of you are grappling with the same thing. I'm just a member of the community. I'm just a member of the alumni. I'm just a parent as well. And I just really want to encourage you all that this is a moment in time for all of you to stand up, because I was telling a parent not too long ago that, because they asked me the question, said, well, is this about getting Principal Muhammad his job? And I said, yes, it is. However, it's become way bigger than that now. Because when you understand the facts of the case of what's been happening, as I've labored to understand over the course of these last 8 months, you'll start to understand that from the moment this man could hit the door, even before that, there were forces set against him. There were powers that were set to, if they couldn't take the job from him initially, they were going to say, okay, fine, we'll ruin this man's career over time and tarnish his exemplary record. We don't care at all about his life. We don't care at all about his children. We don't care at all about the community and the people who love him. But we have this interest, we have this agenda, and we're going to rail against him. And for me, and I'm encouraging for you, that this is something that we just absolutely can't stand. And so the entirety of what has happened is going to come out. But I have a small piece, and I know that many of you have small pieces, but together we're going to be able to put the piece together and cast a new narrative of what actually happened here. So with that, I just want to say to Principal Muhammad, and thank you for your grace and the love that you've shown to the community, to these children, to the parents, and being able to stand steadfast in the face of all of this. It's been nothing short of admirable and noble, and to say I thank you doesn't quite do it. But all I can really say is I'm with you, and I'll do anything I can to make this right for you, and not just for you, but for all of us.
That's right.
Okay? So, more to come. That's the piece I want to share. I know a couple people are going to come and elaborate on what I've just shared with you, but thank you all for the time, and I give it back over to us.
Unfortunately, this is not the first time this type of injustice has happened. So we're bringing up one of those who face similar injustice. However, he's not shrinking. He better not shrink. I met him at Robeson High School. And you know how to get down over at Robeson. So he had to be rough to be able to handle Robeson. And then Dunbar High School. We're not going to keep going through this injustice. So give a hand to our brother Gerald Morrow.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. I'm trying to compose myself because this has been a very traumatic experience. My name is Gerald Morrow. I've been an educator over 30 years. I've been a principal over 18 years. I started my principalship at Paul Robeson High School, which is now New England State. I was a principal there approximately for 8 to 9 years. It was a very rewarding experience because I dealt with some of the most challenging children in Inglewood. We sent children to college. We made sure that we tried to right their spirit. We loved on them. We had empathy towards them. And we gave them hope. From Robeson, I transitioned to Dunbar, CTE school. I put many programs inside of Dunbar. partnership with reinstated aviation program, where we have a young black boy who's approaching his pilot license at 16 years old. LSC and myself reinstituted a music studio because the likes of Jennifer Hudson and Lou Rawls have come from those hallways. So we did everything that was necessary for the children. I too, like Brother Muhammad, was removed on December 2nd. They still have not told me what my allegations were. They have not. This experience has not only hurt me, but it has devastated children. And let's be clear what this is really about. These inequitable practices are not anything new. Don't let anybody tell you that these practices started post-pandemic. These were in place 20 years ago, based off inequitable systems that were not addressed. SQRP, all of those things were told to the administration that this is going to discriminate and harm children, especially black children. What we're looking at today in society are the results of our black boys and girls who could not read in 3rd grade, who are now 19 and 20 and hopeless because we did not serve them equitably. They were disenfranchised, devalued, and disrespected. Then they came after black leaders, black male leaders. The black male leader in Chicago Public Schools has been the mule of the district. We've carried their toughest assignments, and we carry them with pride and dignity. It's been a life work. I've been around longer than Brother Muhammad, but he's modeled the same thing at Douglas. He walked into Lindblom with love, with pride, with empathy for all children, not just a selective enrollment environment. I know when he was at CPS fighting for children. So this is nothing new. So the attack that's been placed upon black male leaders in this district for the last 20 to 25 years must stop. So I'm here to support Brother Muhammad. But I'm also here to give the voice to the voiceless of black men who come before me, who have been ostracized, marginalized, isolated, disrespected, told that you don't know instruction. You're Joe Clark with a bullhorn. You're not intelligent. Just clear the hall. But we found ways to make their data points move. And we provided hope, faith, and love to our children. I stand before you today asking for your continued support and prayer. Not just for Brother Muhammad and myself and the others, but pray for our children. The African heritage says, how are the children? They are not well. Don't let them fool you with data points. Our graduation rate is up, but we're graduating functional illiterates. We're graduating black boys. If you did not choose college, then what? And when you spoke up about it, that's when they ostracized you. That's when they attacked you. And I'm one of those. But I am not afraid. Be ye not afraid. So I want to make sure that everybody understands that this is not a one-off situation. Not at all. But as we make sure that we stand up for Brother Muhammad and the others, make sure that we keep our children in the hollow part of our hands. CPAA has embraced this crisis, and I'm going to label it a crisis. A crisis against black male leaders and a crisis against black children, especially our boys. A especially our boys. Mr. LaRaviere has made sure that he has stood up. He's taken the bullets. He's taken being ostracized. He's taken being publicly humiliated and targeted. And when he started his journey over 10 years ago, there was a lot of us who did not understand. But he stood up, and he's been standing up. So he's put together this piece to make sure they can be elevated. And he's not doing it for himself. He could have easily walked away when they ostracized him and removed him. But he didn't. He's been the catalyst of this fight. And CPS has consistently ignored him and disrespected him and didn't even want to talk to him. But he kept the faith. He kept the mantra and he kept fighting. We would not be here right now if he had not organized this and said enough is enough. So Victoria, we respect you, we admire you, and we thank you for this campaign. And let's make sure we support it. To the Lindblom parents, keep going forward, but we're here for all children and all leaders, especially those who are ostracized and marginalized. To God be the glory.
Good evening, beautiful people. Good evening. I can't stay still. When someone is removed, you've seen principals removed before, there's a cloud put over their heads. A lot of other principals don't even want to be associated with them. Sometimes it's because they think maybe they did something. Other times they know they didn't do anything, but I don't want to be associated with them because they might come after me too. And that's perverse logic. The fact that you don't want to be associated with them and you're not doing what's necessary to come to their defense is why they're eventually going to get to you too. I originally thought of this as coming to the defense of Brother Muhammad, but we have to do it a little differently. What's the best defense? A good offense. And so not only do we have to come to the defense of Brother Muhammad, we have to go on the offense and make sure that not only is he returned, but that the people who did this to him are terminated and never work in Chicago public schools ever again. I'm not playing. These are the people we have to go on the offensive against. We have to go on the offensive against Network Chief Devon LaRosa. We have to go on the offensive against Kishasha Williams Ford. We have to go on the offensive against the Law Department's investigator, Kelly Tarrant. We have to go on the offensive against her supervisors in the Law Department. We have to go on the offensive against that staff, that faction, that CTU faction at Lindblom that came after our brother. We have to build our case. I respect people's intelligence. There are people who will marshal you to do stuff, like those folks marshaled those alumni to come after him, didn't give him all the information, and they just like sheep. I'm not going to treat you like sheep. I'm going to present the case to you. And you can decide for yourself. Now, I don't do reading slides a lot, but this is a summary slide. This is a summation of what happened. Kishasha Williams Ford in the Office of Local School Council Relations, Devon LaRosa, Chief of Network 16, and a faction of Lindblom teachers pressured members of the local school council's principal selection committee not to choose Muhammad. When that ultimately failed, because the local school council knew brilliance when they saw it, when that ultimately failed, they engaged in a series of appalling actions to create as many public failures as possible for Muhammad, which meant knowingly and intentionally failing Lindblom and its students in the process of manufacturing these failures. The evidence suggests that in response to the smear campaign launched by LaRosa and disgruntled Lindblom staff members, CPS official Kelly Tarrant weaponized the CPS Law Department to launch an unethical, one-sided investigation aimed at prejudicing Mr. Muhammad and convicting him without any credible evidence, and she had the full support of every one of her supervisors when she did it. Muhammad was targeted and victimized by internal corruption, religious bigotry, and deep conflicts of interest. And his case is part of a larger, troubling phenomenon of CPS officials railroading principals. Now that's a heck of a statement. Can you prove that, Mr. LaRaviere? You let me know if I proved it when we're done. Now, I'm a Lindblom parent. So before I do the prosecution, I want to do a little defense. I'm a Lindblom parent. My son's the most beautiful person on earth. And he's at Lindblom. Now, I'm in Lindblom. This is his first year before Muhammad. And I get this email from the head of the local school council. Imagine you're a parent and you get this email. I'm writing this email with absolute concern and frustration with what's going on with some of our Lindblom students. I was made aware on Monday of a fight that occurred in the hallway between a few students. In addition to these students' fightings, there was another fight that was interrupted by our security staff today. A fight that took place Monday between two other students and one on Friday. There was yet another fight that took place in the spring sports pep rally. This display of aggression and violence has never been a part of our Lindblom tradition in my 5 years here at Lindblom. And she goes on and on. What do you think? I'm looking at Margaret, my son's mom and my lifetime partner, known her since I was 7 years old. I'm looking at Margaret, what have we got our child into? And then Muhammad came. I drop my son off, I see him in front every single morning, greeting students. He's got security posted. He's directing them. They got stations. I'm like, oh, all right, it's a new day at Lindblom. I'm feeling better. I come pick him up at the end of the day. He's out again. Not only is he out in front of the school, he's walking them down to 63rd. He's got security with him. He's like a one-man safe passage. I'm feeling good. My boy's in safe hands. Everything's changed. The fights drastically reduced. There's order. He beat out 11 candidates in the principal selection process. There's a thing in CPS called principal eligibility where a state license is not enough. We have to get another license from CPS and they put you in this whole thing. When people fail, you know one of the people that they send the people who fail to the passing. You know who they send them to?
Abdul Muhammad.
That's right. That's who they send them to. And everyone he's taught and tutored is passing on the first try. When he first came in, he asked for an audit. I want to look at the financials. All right, okay, he knows what he's doing. Oh, and he engaged the parent and community like no one before him. I'll let him speak on that too. I don't know who's better at defending him, me or him. He's really good, so he's going to join me in some of this because I think you should hear from him. That's right. Yeah. So let's go back to the beginning before he was hired. Next slide. This is a Facebook chat, and it's exemplary of quite a few emails that went around when they were thinking about hiring our brother. The informant, that's an interesting language. The informant also said if you don't look or act like him being our brother, he will give them a hard time. They did not elaborate, but I took it as if you white or gay, watch out. No one want to go through this process again. Keep in mind, he belongs to the Church Nation of Islam. I really hope everyone is wrong. Happy Father's Day. What's his religion got to do with it? Whoever he's talking to is asking the right question. He says, look at Nation of Islam. They hate the Jews, whites, and gays. Sick. This man is in the front office of Lindblom as the clerk. And he had to work with this man every day this year. And he's not the only one in that school with this kind of attitude, spreading this kind of filth. This is the head of local school council relations. Her job is to help the LSCs navigate the principal selection process. She's supposed to stay neutral. But she had a friend who wanted to be the principal. Her friend could not pass the principal's exam. And so she begins to advocate. This is what she said. One, she should have recused herself because she was on somebody's side. Not only did she fail to recuse herself, but she became an obstacle to the local school council. Lindblom is an ALSC. They will have full LSC powers. Why, I don't know. That's usually reserved for probationary schools. It's not a probationary school. But it gives CPS more power over their decision making. She would not help them through the process of becoming a full LSC, number one. Two, Sister Lynn White is a community rep and a thorn in Miss Ford's side. Miss White, during the LSC election, she's a community rep. Her name was on the ballot every election. Somehow, in one election, they pulled the ballots, put some different ballots in, and guess whose name was off the ballot? Miss White.
I said, how is it that my name has been removed? He said, I don't know, but it certainly has been removed. I then called downtown, and he told me, you need to speak with Kinshasa Ford. So I called. When I first got Miss Ford on the fly, she was very professional, very polite, until she found out that I was calling from Lindblom. I was a community rep, and I wanted to know why was my name removed from the ballot. She had gotten a Dr. Rice, I don't know who he is, he's a consultant of some type, and she couldn't answer any of my questions, and he said, well, your name should have never been on the ballot. I said, who are you and based upon what? I said, I think you need to understand that I've been a community rep for a number of years at this school. My name has always been on the ballot. I've been a community rep at another local school, at another LSC. My name was always on the ballot. So help me understand why all of a sudden today my name has been removed from the ballot. They went back and forth, could never answer the question.
She called the assistant principal during the principal selection process, advocating for her, saying she's my very good friend and classmate. She actively and vocally opposed hiring Muhammad by saying things like, give her an interim contract and not a full contract, because she wants her friend to come in. She says, to go with Mr. Muhammad, you're just settling for anybody. I won't allow just anyone. I won't allow. Who is she to think she can allow anything? I won't allow. I just won't allow just anyone to be the principal of Lindblom. And then last but not least, I'm not going to let my school just burn. This is eyewitness testimony from local school council members. This is how she behaved. She needs to go. Next, Devon LaRosa. Now, LaRosa, Ford is only in the picture during the local school council selection process. LaRosa is in the picture before and after. This is what he did before. He walks in and he just says off the bat, he says to the local school council, you don't need Karen, the AP. Which is interesting because he just came from Wisconsin. He doesn't know Karen. He doesn't know anything about CPS. So what does that tell you? Somebody sent him. Somebody above him sent him. He demanded when the brother ended up being the last candidate, he says, I want more candidates, additional candidates. He just beat 11. There are none left. He says, you can't go forward with a forum for just one candidate. He said this to the local school council. When they voted to give the brother a 4-year contract, he gave him an interim contract instead. Now, this is after the brother was selected. He sent these undermining letters. So they had the big protest, the stage protest, and tried to use that to create some doubt about who this brother was. So he then sent these letters to the community to undermine Abdul and create doubt and suspicion, that cloud over his head. Then he told Muhammad, you can't send any letters to your parents without them coming through me. So, now listen, he let the AP send a letter to the parents to rile them up. And now that Muhammad is there, he won't let him communicate with parents without being censored by LaRosa. When the counselor protested, He said, well, yeah, I need to send messages all the time. And I got to go through. He said, no, you can send messages. He can't. So his subordinates can communicate with parents, but he can't. This is LaRosa. And then on top of that, LaRosa and Felicia Sanders, his boss, sent out this letter. And I'm not going to read the whole thing. I'll just read part of it. I'm reaching out to give you an update on the school's leadership. Today at our monthly meeting of the Board of Education, the Chief Executive Officer of CPS asked the board to postpone taking action on recommendation to give a 4-year principal's contract to Mr. Abdul Muhammad. Importantly, the CEO did not withdraw his recommendation and hopes to be able to ask the board to act on that recommendation at a future date. Until then, Mr. Muhammad will continue to lead the school as interim principal. The CEO has chosen to take this course because of recent information regarding Mr. Muhammad's transition. If that's not under, now he's sending this to the parents and the teachers. And the students. This has raised concerns. He's just there, and this is how they introduce him to the community, starting to create the cloud. This is another one they sent in December when they postponed his contract again. I'm not going to read it. Same kind of misinformation, planting seeds of doubt. Something's wrong with this man. We got to watch him. Yeah. He gave him a list of things to do to get a contract. Every principal gets a contract, they just get a contract. So he did everything on the list, still no contract. The list was just to buy time. One, give him more stuff to do than he needs to, so he'll slip up on something he's supposed to be doing. And then to buy time to create this case. Next slide. He aligned himself with opposition groups. He actively sought out people with complaints. When I was principal at Blaine, I told my parents, you got a complaint against the teacher? You better talk to the teacher. Don't bring it to me. Now, if you talk to the teacher and you can't get, then you can bring it to me. But the most important relationship is not your relationship with me. Your most important relationship as a parent is your relationship with your child's teacher, not your child's principal. So whatever this problem is, go and build that relationship by working it out. That's leadership. That's supervision. Not Mr. LaRosa. He created a pipeline of people to come surpass Muhammad and go straight to him. He should be fired for that by itself. It's derelict in his supervision. By itself. He sat in local school council meetings listening to things he knew were lies because Mr. Muhammad was, they were saying like he's not doing anything about special ed. Mr. Muhammad has loads of emails. The brother documents everything so well too, by the way. He has loads of emails showing he's talking to this chief about his efforts to solve this problem. And at the local school council meeting, they're saying he's not doing anything. And the chief, who knows this is a lie, is just sitting there. And again, he was too new. This had to be coming from somewhere else. Now let's look at the staff. Christina Davis is the athletic director, and she is the woman that Brother Omari was telling you about that he met with, and who was saying that she was the ringleader, who wanted him, who was upset with him for following policy. So she mismanaged money from school fundraisers, failed to issue and retain receipts, on several occasions did not turn in money from Lindblom sporting events, put money from school fundraisers in her own personal bank account. When he found out and asked her to, I'm sorry, you have to give that back. She argues that it's hers because she brought her own money to bring change. And he's trying to explain to her, well, even if you brought your own bank, if you sold a ticket for $5, there should be $5. If I was a 10-year-old child, as I said in the video, and I was selling tickets, and I brought $200, and then I ended up with $914, how much is hold up, stop. All right, who's a kid in here that's halfway decent in math? I want a child. You here? Okay. You go to, you bring $200 of your own money. And then you're selling tickets and you're giving change with your own money. At the end of the day, you don't have $200 anymore. You have $914. How much money goes back to the school? He said $714. But Christina Davis acted like she couldn't figure that out. And she did it in writing. She did it in writing. Not only was she poor with money, she endangered students and acted with reckless disregard for their safety. She authorized cheerleaders to practice at an off-site facility. She failed to accompany students to the facility. That gets you fired again right there. She did not inform the principal, fired right there. She lied to officials in CPS Sports Administration and not talked directly to the, and I gotta say this, I don't run my union like some folks run unions. A worker come to them and complain, it's like they don't even investigate, they don't even vet it. You know, the principals, you know, teachers union, for example, you know, and I fully support the teachers being a powerful union, but they have some vetting problems sometimes. You know, teacher comes complaining about somebody, it's like, let's go get him. People come to me, I say, okay, what happened? Okay, do you have witnesses? You have some evidence? Right. Because I'm not gonna put my reputation and my organization's reputation on the line defending incompetence. Right. So I interviewed the official in CPS Sports Administration. When he said that so-and-so knows about it, I called her up. And she said, yeah, she lied and said he knew. But then when he was in the room with her, he said, oh no, he did not know. I didn't tell him. You know, lying to investigators, fired. Several students were injured at the facility. Next, Davis failed to document student injuries. All of this, if you're a principal, you're out. Especially a black principal. A white teacher, I don't know, you got a chance. She brought her own child to school, from what I understand. Said she couldn't get child care. She makes $88,000 a year, $30,000 of benefits, I don't know how much in overtime, and she can't get child care. Brother Muhammad, talk to CPS, you can't do that, it's a liability. You have to follow proper procedures. That's all, he's putting instructions for people to not get fired, and they're getting mad at him for it. 37 of her coaches, she's the athletic director. Did I mention that? She's the athletic director, and 37 of her coaches were out of compliance. She failed student athletes to hurt the principal. She actually refused to do a banquet. Parents wanted to organize a banquet for the basketball team because they had a better than expected season, and she kept resisting it. And she confided in a couple of parents that she's like, we can't do the things we normally do because, you know, it'll look like a win for him. She failed the students intentionally, denied them a celebration for a fantastic season because she didn't want Brother Muhammad to look good. What's the word? Wicked? I'm going to use that one later. She made false or misleading statements to CPS investigators. Next. And Kelly Tarrant, that's our next target, the Law Department. So we've got Kishasha, we've got LaRosa, we've covered the teachers. Kelly Tarrant of the Law Department decided she was going to take up her case against her principal. Let's look at Kelly. So this is Kelly Tarrant. She's an investigator with CPS. She conducted a flawed, one-sided fishing expedition against Mr. Muhammad. Next. She failed to vet witnesses. She only interviewed the 7 teachers that I had on the slide. She failed to interview, and I believe it's up to, 28 people who could have countered what those teachers said. She failed to look at scores of documents that would have shown what those teachers said was a lie. And the only reason we know this, by the way, because they didn't give him his charges either. But they made a mistake. Normally when they let go of a principal, and y'all gotta listen to me because these are some devious people. Listen to this. Normally when they remember when Brother Murrow said, he still doesn't know what he's charged with yet? He still doesn't know, he's been removed since December. They'll say he's been removed pending the results of an investigation. Now, I know you guys have seen the news and it's like, well, we can't comment because it's an ongoing investigation. So CPS uses that as an excuse to remove a principal while they're still investigating so they don't have to tell him or you what he's charged with because there is no substantive charge out there. And sometimes they'll remove you with an ongoing investigation trying to look for more stuff or something to pin on you. But when they removed him, they said he was removed because of substantiated charges. And so we had our lawyers remind them of that and that they couldn't use that as an excuse, and that's how we got the charges released. And we have documented 82 lies, provable lies, that all the law department had to do was look at a document, talk to a witness, use their brain. They didn't do either one of those things. Failed to give Muhammad a chance to respond to allegations. There's certain due process things, right? If you're on trial, you get to know what you're charged with. You get to face the people who are making the allegations against you and respond, and they give you time to gather evidence. He got none of that. Kelly Tarrant in the law department didn't give it to him. They didn't give it to Gerald. They didn't give it to Jamaica. They didn't give it to me. Failed to provide charges after removal until threat of litigation. Next. This is something straight out of their investigative report. Evidence does exist to support the finding that interim Principal Abdul Muhammad of Lindblom Math and Science Academy was aware of critical inaccuracies in the IEP and 504 procedures and record keeping. Despite being aware, inaccuracies still occur. This is actually something that made its way to the law department, an inaccuracy in an IEP. Teacher O'Hara, one of the Lindblom 7, has sent a February 2023 email demonstrating that he was not invited to his students' 504 meeting. This made its way to the law department. First of all, he didn't have a counselor in place. And so some inaccuracies were occurring. And there's emails showing that he was working with the network chief to get a counselor. The counselors are the case manager, They're the ones who do the whole, he doesn't invite people to IEP meetings, the case manager does. And he's working to get one in place. And while he's trying to get one in place, some inaccuracies are occurring. Like, trivial. Trivial. And they've elevated this to the law department. He actually fixed that problem. Then another problem happened. He fixed that. And they acknowledge he fixed it, but then they say, well, there's no long-term plan. The long-term plan is to get a good case manager. That's what he did. It's not as spicy as you thought it would be, is it? Right? This is what we're talking about. Someone not invited to a meeting. Next. In regards to breaches of Illinois special education laws, evidence does exist to support the allegation that interim Principal Abdul Muhammad of Lindblom Math and Science Academy was aware, and let me talk about this was aware. Being aware of something could get you into trouble. Because if you're aware and you don't do anything, and then the problem continues, then you can get in a little trouble. But they skip that middle logic. They'll say he was aware and the problem continued, hoping that you read it and fill in the blank that he didn't do anything about it when there is documented evidence that he jumped through hoops, leaped over buildings, everything he possibly could to fix these problems. They don't acknowledge that in this report. This is a crazy one. Provided inconsistent information to Chief Devon LaRosa regarding a claim that you accompanied a student to a nearby Citgo station to purchase snacks after school. This made its way to the law department. Now, a student's in Citgo, her mother's looking on the GPS, what you doing in Citgo? She calls her, what you doing in Citgo? And she panics and goes, I'm with the principal. Principal's nowhere around. On page 13, CPS Law Department investigative report, it reads, a parent informed Chief LaRosa on November 18th that their daughter had left the Lindblom campus to purchase snacks at a nearby Citgo. It says the student left, not left with the principal. The student, it's in their own report, they acknowledge that the student went by themselves, but then they go back, well, your statement was inconsistent, without pointing out what was inconsistent about it. Next, the parent calls LaRosa. And as Abdul is going back and forth with LaRosa in those emails you just saw on the exact date of December 18th. Abdul invites him to the meeting, to the school, to be a part of this conversation with the alderman, Stephanie Coleman. Instead of talking to him while he's there on this same date, you can read the CPS Law Department report, this same day, he is submitting this ridiculous sit-go gas station allegation to the Law Department. Is that right? Supervision, basic supervision. Failed to vet witnesses, failed to provide a complaint or notice of allegations, failed to fact-check complaints. Next. Failed to interview at least 28 credible, objective witnesses, failed to give Muhammad a chance to respond, failed to provide charges until after the removal and a threat of litigation, and relied on the testimony of compromised witnesses. Fees. Now, we're gonna go back. Next. All right, why is this picture of this white woman on the screen? So, I am about to talk about systemic racism. I am about to talk about white privilege, white racism, institutionalized racism. And when you talk about white privilege, sometimes people look at you and they get a little, what, does he, not like white people? No. That's my mother. That's my mother. The white woman right there? That's my mother. Woman I love more than any other woman on earth. God rest her soul. So, as I start getting into this, I might get a little heated. I'm not mad at white people. I'm mad at white racism. I'm mad at white privilege. And I actually think we need to stop using the term white privilege because it's hiding the other side of white privilege. The other side of white privilege is black disadvantage. That's the problem with white privilege. There's a comedian. His name is Greer Barnes. I don't know if you've ever seen him. He kind of looks a little like Idris Elba, but not quite as handsome and a little more scruffy. He has this routine, it's hilarious. He's talking about walking down the street and how he's scared of white women.
I don't like walking up behind white women at night. Makes me really uncomfortable. So I cross the street. A couple nights ago, I'm walking home. I got my Beats going. I don't have no headphones. I just have Beats. And I'm walking. Uh-oh, white woman. I think I'll cross the street. Uh-oh, another white woman. So now I'm walking in the middle of the street.
And there's a lot of white people in the audience in his set, and he says, you know, white women, y'all should rob black men.
If I was a white woman, I would rob black dudes. I walk up to black guys and be like, hi, my name is Sarah, give me your wallet. Sarah, that's my grandmama name. Give me your wallet or I'm gonna scream. Here, Sarah. No need to get the cops involved, take it. Look at some of the white women like, wow, we could actually do that. Try explaining that to a cop. Yeah, she was about this tall. She had brown hair, brown eyes. I think she did yoga. And she ran in that direction. Brown hair, brown eyes. Yoga. And you mean to tell me a man of your stature couldn't catch her? What I look like chasing a white woman?
And he says, you know, some of y'all, he looked at some of the white women, he said, some of y'all thinking, I could really do that, right? I might be able to get away with that. And that's exactly what happened to Lindblom. Christina Davis, he walks in, he's walking down the street like Greer, and he runs into Christina Davis. And she tries to stick him up, but she tries to stick up his integrity. Let me continue to do fundraising the way I normally do it. Let us do hiring the way we normally do it. And if you don't, I'm going to yell and scream. Brother Abdul said, I got to do my job. And so she screamed, called the police, and the CPS police came, sirens blazing. Here comes Devon LaRosa, sirens blazing. Here comes Kelly Tarrant, sirens blazing. Here comes Felicia Sanders, Bogdana Skumbova, Libby Massey, Assistant General Counsel, Joe Moriarty, General Counsel. They coming, sirens blazing. What seems to be the problem? He won't invite me to an IEP meeting. And the CPS police organized an entire team of people to treat that white woman's complaint. This woman, like, what was her currency? What, was she ethical? The woman who wouldn't do an event for black boys to celebrate them because she didn't want the principal to have a success. Was her currency her ethics? No. The woman who stole money. Was her currency her honesty and integrity? No. What was it about her that made this institution circle itself around her and all of her needs and aim themselves directly at this black man? What was it about her? We all know what it was. If you didn't understand, white privilege, institutionalized racism, systemic racism, right? Systemic racism means there's a system, and they organized a system. The Law Department, the Office of Network Supports, organized a whole system around her to target this brother who was the only one in the whole situation that had any integrity. Institutional racism. What is this system a part of? The institution of CPS. The institution is licensing this system to go after this man and other black people like him. If you look at that and you still don't understand or agree that white privilege and black disadvantage, systemic racism, institutionalized racism exists, then you don't want to know. This is hard for me. I risked my job for CTU repeatedly when they were right. Because I understood that our greatest enemy is the wealth, the corporate wealth that runs CPS. And CTU stood against that corporate wealth and was the most powerful force we had against that corporate wealth. But CTU got some problems. And so I'm about to state this as a friend. Sometimes your friend got to tell you what's wrong with you because nobody else will. These are two CTU staffers. They're outside of a school. A teacher who's cool with the CTU staffers was complaining about her principal. And they were outside the school with a petition to get rid of the principal. Then the teachers from the school go out and they go, what are you guys doing? This principal, he's got to go. And they don't even know they're talking to teachers. This CTU, they represent the teachers at the school, and they don't know they're talking to teachers. And the teacher's like, we like him. There's one staff person, and he basically gave the staff person an assignment she didn't want, like a classroom she didn't want. And so she, being cool with CTU people, went into the central mechanisms of CTU and got them to put paid staff in front of his school to petition against him.
Okay. This is a petition of no confidence for our prisoner. these are just the concerns that have been put together. So if this is something that...
Who put together those concerns?
So I said there were parents.
She's not at liberty to say. She's at liberty to stand out here and represent these random people, but we have no right to know who these people are.
So
how does that make any sense?
You will be informed, but
so as a member of the community, we should be informed now, right?
So when everything's put together, you'll be informed.
Why are we not informed ahead of time? That's the point. That's my concern here. That's what I was telling her. So what is the secretiveness and all this randomness that's coming? You know what I mean? We're not all aware of this going on.
Yeah, I wasn't aware.
Right. That's why I'm upset, Ms. Weber. Because I don't know this is happening, and I feel disrespected. Because I feel like they're out here representing me too, and I'm not that person. Do you see what I mean? It's the lack of clarity that bothers me, the lack of transparency that bothers me. Because like you're saying, we are representing Yates Elementary. They're here now trying to represent us negatively, apparently, in a way.
Not, you don't belong to our school, so how does that make any sense for you to represent us?
As a member of community, I am concerned.
And what do you know about our school? How many LSC meetings have you attended?
I have not attended.
So how do you know about our school?
How many teachers out of the 60 teachers have you spoken to?
I don't appreciate the grilling. I just said if you're not comfortable signing, you don't have to sign. But there have been people that have come to me, and I said, you know what, I want to help because that sounds like it's a concern.
And so, who are you? And you're representing our community member?
Yeah.
So you live in the community?
Yep.
I'm interested in finding out information. If I have a right to know what's going on. And you clearly don't want to share all the information with me. That's the part that has me upset.
I don't have permission from, that hasn't been discussed, so I'm not comfortable sharing.
Which is why I don't feel comfortable with you standing out here without all of us knowing what's going on. Because there's more than whatever you say you're representing. There's a lot of teachers in the school that don't have any idea about this. I'm telling you right now, to at least share that fact that you're going to be out here with teachers so that teachers know ahead of time. Some kind of a flyer or some kind of a thing that going on. No, not talking to me now, talking to us as a collective group. It's the secretiveness that I can't stand. It's disrespectful and it's unprofessional. And it makes us look bad. And we're working hard to make this school a better place. And I feel personally offended. It is. It's about all of us because all of us are a team. And we're all trying to build family here. And this is not building family.
Correct.
I'm so sorry you feel that way.
And that feels blatantly disrespectful towards all of those of us
especially because you don't know our school.
Because you don't know our school. Exactly. It's insulting. Because you don't have the full picture.
They don't vet their people. The next slide you're going to see is a message from Jesse Sharkey. When I was, a few years back, I got an email from a principal with a text chain of CTU staffers talking about what they're going to do to principals. They were basically proposing a database of principals who shouldn't be hired, right? A database of principals, and since there's 2 CTU reps on every local school council, they were going to pass this database around to every local school council to keep anybody off that list, on that list from getting a job. But I snapped, sent a message to Jesse Sharkey, who was president at the time, and to his credit, this is how he responded. Greetings, President LaRaviere. Thank you for writing to me. I always prefer to communicate openly about potential conflicts than to make assumptions and build up resentment. I too had noticed the thread with which you are referring. Please understand that it took place on a listserv which is unmoderated, where CTU members and others post ideas, articles, frustrations, and everything in between. Postings on this list do not represent official CTU positions. The CTU has a formal leadership structure, elected officers, an elected executive board, a house of delegates, and we formulate our policy positions through these bodies. And this is what he tells them. He's telling me he told his people this, to his credit. He tells them, right now there's a lot of justified hostility towards lists of bad people type databases. Think do not hire lists, the gang database, etc. A lot of people on our side are justifiably upset about the boss keeping these kinds of lists. Our arguments against their lists go along the following lines. There's no process for who goes on the list. The information is used to deny people work. There's no way for people to get off the list. Right? That's the CTU was out there protesting the gang database, and then they come up with an idea to create a gang database for principals. That means you have no ethical center you just say whatever you want to justify whatever position. You don't have a center of values to guide you. And he's acting like a parent talking to his children, reminding them of their values. I told him he needs to fire those people. He didn't. And I knew that if those people that came up with that idea stayed in those leadership positions in the mid-level of the organization, they were going to produce other ideas and other actions just as sick as this one. Yes, sir. And that's what happened to our brother. Now, again, I collect data. So I sent an email to every one of those teachers telling them what they were charged with. So this is one I sent to Ms. Davis. Hello, Ms. Davis. I'm writing on behalf of the Truth and Justice for Lindblom Commission. For the past month, we've investigated the removal of the Lindblom Principal Abdul Muhammad. A deeply disturbing picture has emerged based on documents and interviews with witnesses. A summary of the picture painted by the evidence is as follows. And I tell them what they're charged with. Ms. Davis, you've been accused of engaging in specific acts of misconduct as part of this alleged conspiracy. As we continue to investigate, we're extending you an opportunity to defend yourself and communicate your perspective. Please let us know what time and date you are available for an investigative interview. The interview will be in person and it will be recorded. If you need a virtual option, please let us know. To be clear, we are a private group and you have no legal obligation to appear before us. Just as your normal obligations during an employer-led investigation do not apply, the normal employer legal contractual obligations and duties do not apply to us, such as recognizing the right to counsel. Legal obligations aside, we are fair and reasonable people, so if you'd like to bring counsel with you, we encourage you to do so. And we will accommodate that request. I sent that to her, every one of those teachers, Devon LaRosa, Kashasha Williams Ford. You think I heard back from any of them? But I did my due diligence. Before we get to demands, I'd like to give Brother Muhammad, if you have anything that you want to add, a chance to speak.
Good evening, everybody. You know, I'm grateful that you all came to be with us this evening. Some of you all I've known for years. A lot of our relationships, 20, 30 years, I've known you all. And those who know me, you knew I didn't do anything wrong. You knew, like, no, not Muhammad. You know, Muhammad don't even play like that. And people who know me, like, y'all know I don't do favors that's gonna get anybody in trouble. Y'all know this, other people in the world. So I thank Troy for coming with this information just to prove to you how trivial and trifling these people who brought these false charges to remove a black principal in a black school, majority, with a black LSC in a black neighborhood. And y'all in Chicago, and you know, where's Brother Abel? My brother is here. He know we can't go to Pilsen. This is my Latino brother. But Brother Abel knows that three black teachers can't go to Pilsen and get together and protest the Latino principal, and then the Latino parents agree with them. They would drive them out of the school and say, what is wrong with you? If you went to the north side in the white school with a white leader that they selected for their children, and 2 or 3 black teachers that were disgruntled against the white principal in the white school, in the white neighborhood, with the white LSC, they would not listen to them. You can't do that anywhere except in our community. So the question you need to ask is, do black people have the right to self-determination? Do we have the right to choose our leaders without the interference from people on the outside? That's the question that we need to share with you all, because he came with a lot. I'm just going to do this real quick. Some of the things just that were in this report, right? There's, y'all know what microaggressions are? Yes, sir. So if you ever, my mother and my father both were like some of the first people in corporate America. My mother suffered a great deal in corporate America because she integrated corporate America, and my father did as well. Now y'all know black parents don't come home and tell their children about their experiences. It comes out in a book, but it comes out, they're not coming home telling them folks crazy at them. No, they don't do that. It comes out in other ways. But what our people experience when they go in these environments is called microaggressions. So you get all of these comments about, like I got when I came to Lindblom. I mean, how did you never worked at a selective enrollment school before? You were at Douglas. But now it's only 11 selective enrollment schools out of the 94 schools, high schools in Chicago. So what does that mean? The vast majority of principals and assistant principals do not have selective enrollment experience. So why is that the yardstick when it's not the yardstick for somebody that's white? Are y'all right? So what microaggressions do is like they nitpick at any little thing. Right? Let me give you some examples, and I'm not making this up. My brother Troy can bear witness that I'm not making this up. So one of the things that they brought to the law department that is actually in the report, one of the things they said, well, this was the problem, like he talked about special ed. And then it actually says in the report that the problem was solved. But then you saw they still came with the charge, even though it says in their report that we solved the problem. Another teacher said, Principal Muhammad bought himself, I'm not making this up. Principal Muhammad bought himself a Mac computer and 2 printers. I'm not making this up. Now, I'm the principal of the high school. I got there, now let me give you her full statement. He bought himself a Mac computer and 2 printers before he bought supplies for the counseling department. Now, even if I did, I'm the principal. I'm the boss, right? But that's not what happened. What actually happened is that I got there on July 7th. I didn't order my computer until November 9th. July, August, September, October, November. 5 months as the principal. Mr. Booker's here. 5 months, that's the operations manager. 5 months as the principal with no computer and no printer. Why? Because I wanted to make sure all the teachers had everything that they needed. But do you think the law department vetted what these teachers said? These are the complaints. He bought a computer and a printer. Then another teacher, Mr. Brannigan, on December 22nd, that's the first snowfall in Chicago, so a lot of people missed school that day. A lot of teachers were out. So the lie that they said to the law department is, this is Mr. Brannigan, Mr. Muhammad came in after 8 o'clock and didn't do anything to help cover the classes in the school. Now, if you know me, that doesn't sound like me. You don't even sound nothing like me. But now, so what I did, I looked at the time that I swiped in on December 22nd. And I looked at the time that Mr. Brannigan swiped in on December 22nd. The law department could have did that, but they didn't. I swiped in at 7:46. He swiped in at 7:47. But he told the law department that I got there after 8 o'clock and didn't do anything to help. And they actually took what these people said, all of these false statements, and took them and wove them into a case against somebody who, from the day I got to Lindblom, and I have witnesses, I've been putting in work. They make false statements like I mismanaged money. Listen, I'm not making this up. They said, listen, the clerk, her name is Miss McDaniel, he made some strange purchases for the pet rally. Balloons, a DJ, and a 360 booth. I'm not making this up. These are the trifling complaints that they came against me with. That's in the documented report. So, brothers and sisters and all of us, I just want you all to know, as Troy laid out, that I did not do anything wrong. From the day I walked into Lindblom, even before, as he pointed out, it's been a witch hunt against me. And you would think, like, man, with all of this that you're going through, Brother Muhammad, how are you able to make any progress? But I was able to make a lot of progress with all of the stumbling blocks that were thrown in my way. Because I work with people in the community. We built relationships with the alderwoman. We built relationships with the state rep. As bad as our relationship started with the alumni, if people were honest, then they would say, well, you know, I don't agree with everything Mr. Muhammad did when he first got there. But if people were honest, they would say at every opportunity that he had a chance to build relationships with the alumni, he took advantage of that opportunity. That's right. These are just facts. We put on an alumni breakfast. How many of you all were alumni at that breakfast? Can y'all just raise your hand? We brought in the alumni that disagreed with the decision I made when I first got there, because from the very beginning we wanted to build bridges with them. So these are some of the false claims, as my brother said, and as I just shared. And we have, and I'm going through counting, right? And we're up to, was it 82 or 83? It's 82 right now that we've pulled out from the report. And not just, oh, this is my opinion, this is how I feel. No. We have the documented evidence to prove everything that we're saying. So I just wanted to say that piece. I don't know where Troy went. I know we're going to do a Q&A. But just so you all know, I have a 25-year track record in CPS. I'm not new to CPS. I've been in CPS for 25 years. And the work that I've done in the 25 years that I've been in CPS has been an exemplary work. Everywhere I go, my students, if you meet them, no matter what school I was at, they all love me. That's the one thing they all have. They all I already know what they're going to say. Ask them, who was your favorite teacher from preschool all the way up to college? And they all going to say, yeah, my favorite teacher was Mr. Muhammad. Hands down. You all as a community, you say, we need people in the schools that are going to look after the children. We need people in the schools that are going to give them right guidance and direction. We need people in the schools that are going to go above and beyond to pull them from where they need to be to where they need to go. And there are people in the schools just like that. And those are the people that CPS works against. I'm evidence. My brother Gerald is evidence. So when I turn on VOA, I hear what you say about what we need in the schools, but you have to know there are people in the schools that are doing the work that you as black parents and the black community want done in the schools. So that's the work that I've been doing for the last 25 years. That's the work that I did at Lindblom, everywhere else that I've gone. And I'll say this, and then I'm done. We'll go to the last part of it. I gotta give y'all my resume. Some of y'all know it. I started on the west side at Westinghouse. And some of y'all don't know, is he real? That's really real. How much real is they come? I started on the west side at Westinghouse when it was a neighborhood school. When it was winning championships, the students on the west side loved me to death. To this very day. And I had them, this is 20 years ago, I can't, you know. From there, I moved to CPS on the east side. At that time, CPS, they said, they're here, that CPS stands for crime, violence, and sex. That's what they say, that's what it's about. Fights, all of that. There was only one teacher that could go in the hallway and break up the fights, and the students would not try to fight that teacher. And that was me. Students wanted to be in my class. They would come and tell me, Mr. Muhammad, you know what? The only reason I'm coming to school, they know what I'm saying is true. Muhammad, yeah, the only reason I'm, like, once your class is over with, I'm ditching. Because you're the only reason I'm not. This is what they told me, right? This is what you want in the schools, and it's there, and CPS is working against it. After CPS, I went to Simeon, Jabari Parker. If Jahari walked in this room right now, he's showing me love because that's one of my students. C. Taylor, the #1 basketball player in the state. Kendrick Nunn, who's in the NBA right now. These are my former students at Simeon. And they love me to this day. Man, I don't know what you're saying, huh? That's who you treated them differently. Absolutely not. They got treated like everybody else that walked in the classroom. From Simeon, I became assistant principal at Percy L. Julian in the hundreds. Right. So now, at Julian, when I got there, the parents and people coming about the neighborhood jumping on students. We work with the 27th district, I believe it is, and the people within the school, we turn the whole school around. There are witnesses in this room that saw us do that work. Muhammad, did you come do that work? I absolutely did that work. I could stand in the hall at Julian and count down from 10. I'm not intimidating students because of my size. I'm not intimidating them, oh man, I'm not gonna do nothing. That's not what it is. But the level of respect that they have for me, I can stay out in the hallway at Percy L. Jr. I can count down from 10, and the students would run to class because they didn't want to be late. Not because I intimidated them, not because I threatened them, not because I put them in a headlock. I built a relationship with them, and they respected me as the school leader. I went to Nancy B. Jefferson. Nancy B. Jefferson, I ain't never heard of that. The Audios. The school that's inside the juvenile detention center. So all the shooters, all the killers, all the gangbangers that's under 18, when they get locked up, guess who they had to come see? They had to come see me. And before I went to Nancy B. Jefferson, there was never a time that they could put all the gangbangers, EDs, GDs, Spice Lords, Four Corner Hustlers, EBKs, Latin Kings. There was never a time that they could put them all in the same room. It couldn't happen. But when I got there and I worked with those young people, they were able to put them all in the same room together without there being violence. I have witnesses. Sean has been with me for years. Witnesses to the work we did in all of these schools with the very people that you turn on the television and people say, we gotta do something about that. But then you condemn the person that's doing something about the problem that you say you want to solve. When I was at Nancy B. Jefferson, everybody in Cook County loved me to death. I was there from 2015 to 2017. All of the people on the county side, Minister Ismail has been there with me before, and several of you have been there with me. Because even though I'm not there anymore, I've been back over 50 times since I left. Because that's my commitment to the children. We were back there, what was that, about a month and a half ago? We were back there about a month and a half ago. And when I went back, the superintendent, when he saw me, because it was about 7 o'clock when we started work, he said, brother, I stayed here because I love you. This is the man that's over the whole facility. Now, when I was there, CPS didn't have no love for me. I'm just being real. You would think that they would be like, man, look at this work that this man is doing. Absolutely not. They don't want to have. Everybody on the Cook County side, the judges, the lawyers, the security guards, the superintendent, that all of them, if you go down there today, 7 years after I left, they still have love for me there. From Nancy B. Jefferson, and I gotta say this, while I was at Nancy B. Jefferson, how many of y'all saw the play Hamilton? Has anybody? That's an absolutely magnificent play. I call myself the greatest rapper alive. Some of y'all know that, some of y'all know. I took my students to go see Hamilton when I was at Douglas. But while I was at Nancy B. Jefferson, I reached out to the producer, her name is Caitlin Pine, of Hamilton. Now my students at that time are locked up. I reached out to the producer and I said, look, can we bring the Hamilton play to Nancy B. Jefferson? It took 2 years. I wasn't even at Jefferson anymore. It took 2 years of us working, and she brought the play. We brought the play to Nancy B. Jefferson. So now, listen to what the producer said. She said, Mr. Muhammad, Hamilton has only left the stage twice. Once, when we took it to the White House for Barack Obama, and the other time when we brought it to Nancy B. Jefferson. For the very students that everybody said we gotta do something about that. Nancy B. Jefferson, I went to Douglas. Douglas on the west side, I had no issue with the west side. I love the west side.
That's right.
Douglas has always been a thorn in the side of CPS. Fights, low expectations. So when I got to Douglas, there were a lot of issues. I worked with the staff there. And in the 5 years I was at Douglas, we brought the fights all the way down to 0.
Right.
The freshman contract rate when I got there was 77%. We brought it up to 100%.
Right.
The attendance when I got there was low. If you walk in Douglas right now, there are banners on the wall for 3 years of consecutive attendance growth all throughout the school. When I got there, the graduation rate was very low. I had it right in front of me. But we brought it up to 82%, which is the district average. Now, these are the students that the district really doesn't care about. Douglas was neglected. But when I went in, we were blessed to turn the whole school around.
Yes, sir.
Then I got to Lindblom, and that's where all the problems started. That's the hard part. So, but I'm only sharing that, brothers and sisters, because this is my work that I've done for the last 25 years in CPS. And so I'm not new to CPS. When I was a teacher, I won the Teacher of the Year Award. I was nominated twice for the Golden Apple Award, so I'm not new to CPS. I was in who's who among American high school teachers for 4 or 5 years consecutively. So the people in CPS know me and they know my work. But because my work has been exemplary, these are the things that you saw and that I shared that we've been dealing with for the last 8 or 9 months at Lindblom. So I'm going to end it there. I know I didn't mean to talk that long, but I just want to give you all my resume.
Give it up. Give it up. Give it up. We have to finish this and wrap it up. We are past our time. Thank you for being so patient with us, Father Flegger and press. We want to list the demands. Quick Q&A. I want to open it up to the press first. If there's any reporters, they've been very patient. Also open it up to you all. And while the Q&A is happening, cards will be passed out. This is where you get to take action. If you do not take a couple of steps while you're here, this is why, so we've made our case. So if we haven't made our case to you, you don't want to take action, I understand. But if we made our case, this is the time for you to do something. So while we're doing the Q&A, we're not going to do it right now. We got to do the demands first. But while we're doing the Q&A, we'll have a QR code. Take your phone out, give us your information. And I'll tell you why we need to get that information with these demands. Our demands go to 3 separate institutional forces. The first institutional group of forces is the mayor and the school board. And these are the demands for them. Restore Principal Muhammad immediately as principal of Lindblom Math and Science Academy with a 4-year contract. Restore Gerald Murrow, Kimberly Gibson, and revisit the cases of all 6 principals who were removed as a result of investigations conducted by Kelly Tarrant and the CPS Law Department until a full independent investigation of the Law Department and its tactics is completed. Terminate CEO Pedro Martinez for either directing or allowing 3 officers under his supervision to conduct a witch hunt of Abdul Muhammad and other African American principals. Direct the new CEO to issue a public apology to Mr. Muhammad, the Lindblom community, and to each principal and school community affected by witch hunts conducted by the CPS Law Department. And we can't let the OIG off the hook either, because now they get involved in this nonsense. Terminate every Lindblom staff member who gave false testimony to the Law Department against Principal Muhammad. Terminate Kelly Tarrant and Libby Massey for using incompetent and unethical one-sided investigative tactics that do not meet the standard for fair investigations or well-reasoned findings. Terminate Devon LaRosa for his role in orchestrating the witch hunt against Abdul Muhammad and for incompetent supervision. Terminate Felicia Sanders and Bogdana Skumbova for their role in this. Terminate Kishasha Williams Ford for her role in this. And convert the Lindblom advisory local school council into a full LSC. Now, that's what CPS and the mayor control. I don't trust the mayor's office or CPS to investigate itself. So we have to have another target, what's called a secondary target, who can make your primary target do what they're supposed to do. This is the secondary target. The United States Department of Justice, Office of Civil Rights, the Illinois State Board of Education, and possibly the Illinois Attorney General. We want each one of these to investigate Kelly Tarrant, Devon LaRosa, the Office of Network Supports, the Law Department, the Office of Local School Council Relations, and the Inspector General for civil rights violations and the violations of due process. Establish a commission to review all questionable removals of Chicago principals since 2010. This is our second secondary target. The governor and the state legislature conduct hearings into the civil rights and due process violations committed by Kelly Tarrant, Devon LaRosa, the Office of Network Supports, the Law Department, the Office of Local School Council Relations, and the Inspector General, and propose and pass legislation to prevent such abuses from ever reoccurring. So those are our demands. How this works is we have to group people, organize people, and aim those people at each one of those institutions. You all, would you like to be a part of that effort? All right, do you have those cards? You got those cards in your hands. Please take your phones out. And if the card doesn't work, you can go to Justice for Abdul Muhammad. There should be a link there where you can just give us your information. We have to be able to connect with you and keep in touch with you so that when it is time to move on these institutions, you move with us, we move together. Our power is in our ability to turn out. We can't go up against them. We can't make these demands with 3 people showing up. We need a mass movement. We need you and 26 of your friends. I'm not playing. And we can't get you if we can't stay in contact with you. So one of the most important things you can do right now is complete that card. Kent, do you have the petition link? The petition's on the website. Now this is a different QR code. That one is for your contact information. This one is the petition with all of those demands. We want you to sign that petition.